Mark Fulton. I have read some Scientology stories where the members claim they are both Class 12 auditors and OT7 or OT8. It seems, with the time required for OT7 and the study requirements on the auditing side, that there are not enough hours in a day to complete this dual certifications in less than 50 years, especially redoing the bridge at some time. Are there shortcuts or special deals for certain people due to their status? Okay, thanks for the question, Mark. And no, there are not special deals because of people's status. However, things have changed over the years. Things have changed quite a bit over the years. Back when Hubbard was still around, getting up to become a Class 12 auditor was not necessarily the Herculean task that you might think it would be. We'll address training and then we'll address processing, because I don't know any other way to do this. The lower level auditor training, all the way up through Class 6, and I'm going to put a link, or I'm going to try to remember to put a link in this video to my talk on the grade chart, the bridge to total freedom, because I break down all of the levels of Scientology and talk about the training levels. So getting up to a Class 4 or Class 5 auditor is really only, if you were going part-time to a local church in your town and you were doing, the training maybe 15 hours a week, in about a year you could be a Class 4 auditor pretty easily, including doing an internship. And now I think it's even faster. And then you would go to a St. Hill level org to do what's called the Class 6 or the St. Hill Special Briefing Course. That's the big one. That takes a year full-time, meaning you're just there training away. You're going to spend a year of your life doing that. If you were to do it part-time, it's going to take years. That's unavoidable. It's huge and it takes years. It doesn't take 50 years. But it would take, say, if you were on a part-time schedule, something like 4 or 5. Now, once you're a Class 6 auditor, you have done or at least when it used to be offered, I don't think they're even delivering the Class 6 course right now, although they'll probably get around to delivering it again some point in the future. But once you've done that course, you have done all the books, tons of lectures, tons of material. You're supposed to have a full chronological study of all of Dianetics and Scientology up to the level of clear. You're not going to get into the OT material when you're doing the Class 6 course, but everything from clear and below you'll cover. So that's the big mama. Once you're done with that, you could do this Class 7 course is really only for auditing something called Power and Power Plus, and Sea Org members do that. And that's a couple weeks. Doing that's no big deal for a Sea Org member. The Class 8 course is supposed to only be full-time, is only supposed to be about 3 or 4 weeks. So that's not a really long, extensive, drawn-out thing. But let's say it takes 6 months. So you have now, if you're a full-time student, you're really dedicated, then to get to training up through Class 8 would take about 2 or 3 years. Now, if you do it part-time, 5 or 6 years. Okay. So that's kind of the training lineup. Now, in order to do the Class 9, 10, 11, and 12 courses, you have to be a Sea Org member. No public do those courses and never will, at least as far as I can tell. So if you're a Sea Org member and you're going to go do that training, you're going to do it full-time. Nobody goes and does the Class 12 course or the Class 11 course on a part-time schedule. They just put the guys into training and they just go do it. Class 9, the Class 9 course covers some how to deliver OT 4 and 5, and the Class 10, 11, and 12 courses cover what are called the L rundowns, L, 10, 11, and 12. And I go into all the details on that in that other video. So those are short courses. Those are not long, dragged-out courses. And now they're making it that you can get, as a Sea Org member, you can get up to Class 12 without doing that briefing course. You can get up through a Class 5, and then you can skip the briefing course and go right to Class 9, do Class 9, and then do the Class 10, 11, and 12. So anyway, if all that cryptic nonsense makes sense to you, that's the training lineup for the auditing, or for the training. Now, for the auditing part, getting to clear on an intensive auditing schedule, let's say you're going in 12 and a half hours a week for auditing, is going to take somewhere between 6 months to a year, generally speaking, because you're going to have vacations, you're going to have breaks, you're going to have this, you're going to have that. You're going to have to take time to make the money to pay for these things. That's usually a thing that enters time into it. If you just went flat out, just nose to the grindstone all day, every day, just powering through to get through what are called the grades, and including the objective processes. I'm including that in there too, because those tend to go for a few hundred hours these days. Wasn't always that way. Again, things have changed over the years. Getting to clear used to be really fast. Now these objectives are in there, and redoing a purif and all that. But basically, let's say a year to get to the level of clear. OT 1, 2, and 3, and 4 can be done very rapid fire. They're not long actions. And by that, I mean, because you go do them full time. You go to an advanced organization and you just audit away, and you have to go in session every single day. Once you start auditing on OT 1, 2, and 3, you don't stop. There's no breaks allowed, and they make sure you set up your life so that you can do that. So you're going in every day. So you're going to get through OT 1, 2, and 3, 4 or 5 months. You're going to be through all that. Then you're going to do OT 4. That is about 12 and a half to 25 hours of auditing. Then you're going to do OT 5. That's a bit of a chunkier. That's 50 hours to 75 hours of auditing. Then you're going to do OT 6, which is actually a course. You have to go to Flag. You do it full-time. Nobody does it part-time, and very few people. Maybe local Clearwater residents could get away with it, but most people fly into Clearwater, and they just train, and they just sit in the course room and do it all day. And that course will take you maybe 2 months, 2 to 3 months, max. Like it could be chunky. And then once you finish that, then you go home and you audit every day, multiple times a day, on OT 7. Because that's what OT 6 is it teaches you how to audit on OT 7. So OT 7 is years. OT 7 is, without question, years. I don't know anybody who's ever finished it in less than 2. And some people have been on it for even a decade. So that is a chunky amount of time, okay? Now you have to be, in order to lay this out a little bit, you'd have to do all that auditing up through OT 3 before you could do the Class 8 course. Okay, so you could go up to clear or not and train up through the St. Hill Special Briefing course, up through Class 6. You wouldn't have to be clear to finish the Class 6 course, but that's sort of, but you have to be OT 3 to get onto the Class 8 course. And obviously you need to be OT 5 in order to get onto the Class 9 course, because that's what teaches you how to audit OT 4 and OT 5. So that's kind of how that all breaks down in terms of time. So 50 years, no. But altogether, if you're a very dedicated Scientologist and you really nose to the grindstone on this stuff, yeah, you're investing a lot of time. And that's why very few people are Class 12s and OT 7 or 8, Oh, by the way, once you finish OT 7 and you go to the ship to do OT 8, it's like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it's not a long deal to go to the ship and do OT 8. At least it's not supposed to be. Some people get there and they get dragged out and stay for months, interminably doing sec checks and this kind of crap. But the action itself doesn't really take that long. So that's kind of the time frame in very broad terms, but I hope that helps answer that question.